the students will look to you and be like, I see myself in my teacher. I feel comfortable and connected, and that's really going to enhance learning too. So it's like you belong, and you belong with your students.
Welcome back, Teaching Fellows. My name is Jackie, and thank you for returning to our episode of CTFF Talks. This month, for the month of February, we have a special edition because we have some special guests in the room with us. We have Dr. Heather Horsley with us and Terence Wan. Dr. H, can you please let the people know in about 60 seconds who you are, what makes you passionate about education?
Yeah, most definitely. So I have been in the field of education for about 22 years now. I currently am an associate professor at Fresno State, so California State University, Fresno, go Dogs, and here in the Central Valley. And I also coordinate a lot of our education pathways. So one of the ones I'm super passionate about is the residency model that has been super supported in the state. And before I moved into working with people who wanted to become teachers, in other words, as a teacher of teachers, I was a former public school teacher in Illinois, third grade.
Oh,
yeah,
love that.
And I even started with some younger ones, like preschool, and before that. So really the 4-year-olds to 8-year-olds has been my main focus.
Yeah, that takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
To work with the younger youth, and now you're working with the older youth. So
yeah.
Full circle.
Definitely.
Awesome, thank you. Terence, can you let folks know in about 60 seconds or less what brings you here?
Yeah, so my name's Terence. I'm the Education Pathways Manager here at California Teaching Fellows Foundation. And my role here is to help assist our teaching fellows basically meet our mission goals. You know, we want to help create the next generation of teachers in the state of California. And so if there's ways for me to support and provide resources to you guys, that's what I'm here to do.
So we have our first question, and I'll start with you, Dr. H. Our first question is, why should people consider becoming a teacher in California?
Yeah, really, it's a great place to become a teacher. California is really investing a lot into the workforce, and so there's so many supports available, both financially and also to help you grow professionally and advance in the career, in the profession as well, into leadership. The other piece is that there is high demand for professionals with this expertise in teaching and learning. And what that means is that you'll have greater economic stability over time. We have opportunities for very competitive salaries and benefit packages, so you can really feel like you're able to, eventually buy homes and provide all the support you need for your family. And I think beyond the economic side of becoming a teacher in the state of California is really being mission driven, just really feeling that you're making an impact in your community. And so, you're essentially shaping the lives of the students you work with, and that is also enhancing the communities in which we're serving as well.
Yeah, for our teaching fellows, I think it's a great opportunity to continue to build on the foundation that you are already receiving here at Teaching Fellows. But also, again, it's just being able to give back to the communities that you're in. I think it's important to be able to provide that structure, that passion for the next group of students, and then from there, hopefully they're interested in becoming educators as well, and Teaching Fellows will be right here to help them along too.
Yeah, our Teaching Fellows are no strangers to, like you were saying, Dr. H, that impact. They get to experience it every single day, so then turning that part-time job into a career.
Yeah, I love that so much, and from a personal experience, I have currently, in the past couple of years, teaching fellows that end up in our credential program that are now working with a mentor teacher
Oh.
that was their former elementary school teacher.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so going full circle and really being deeply rooted in their community and the people that supported them, and it's just so cool. And they're fellows, so it's really neat.
I'm like, you're gonna have to tell me those folks later.
Yeah.
Follow
Oh yeah, I got their names.
Yeah, perfect.
Besides everything.
Perfect. What are some components future educators need to earn a credential?
Yeah, when you first look at all that's needed to earn a credential in the state of California, the list can feel a little daunting. Just know there's a lot of support in place. Teaching Fellows is an excellent example of that. And that you just, create a list, go one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 year at a time. Doesn't happen overnight either. And so some of those are like really big ones, like earning a bachelor's degree. That is required to earn your credential in the state. The other one that can also feel like it takes time to get there is around the subject matter requirements. So it's like basic skills, so really basic foundational knowledge into a little bit more extensive and deeper, and even gets into some teaching concepts in the in the subject matter requirement. And so historically, the main way that people had to meet that requirement was through taking the CSETs, which is most different credentials have different numbers of subtests you have to take. So you really have to go to the website and see that. So now there's certain degrees that are what's considered a direct match to the credential for earning that credential. So for example, the most direct match for a multiple subject credential for teaching elementary school children is liberal studies degree. And then, of course, at secondary for high school, it's usually a direct degree match between, if you want to be a chemistry teacher and then you have like a science major. Hopefully chemistry is probably your best match, but there's other options. So that is a little messy to like work through, but there's advisors and so forth. Let's say though, which we hope to, we would like to have people who are interested in becoming teachers or realize they want to become teachers who didn't go the liberal studies or liberal arts with an education, background. Or pathway to teaching background. We now have different ways to do evaluations of their transcripts so that you're able to meet it through coursework. And then if degree doesn't match, if coursework doesn't meet all the requirements, then you would still have to take the CSETs. But what we're seeing, which is so encouraging, is that degree and or coursework evals is pretty much it's covering it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are meeting the requirement predominantly in those two ways, saving applicants or future teachers time, energy, test stress, that comes with that, and the money, right? Those tests, they come with a fee. So those are, I would say, some of the really big ones that are like before you actually get in the program. So that was a lot because there's a lot, like I said at the start, there's a lot of pieces, but again, it's just, taking it step by step.
Yeah. And I would just, as Dr. H kind of mentioned, it seems daunting when you kind of list everything out in one shot. But I think the important thing to note is that, like, as you kind of progress through your normal academic plan, a lot of these things will ultimately just kind of take care of themselves, right? So she talked about now with the CBEST, the basic skills, you're now able to just knock that out by completing your bachelor's degree, which I think is amazing. And then I know in some conversations that I've had with our teaching fellows, like the test anxiety, right? The CSET is it's very scary for some people. And so knowing that if early on you can identify like, hey, this is the route that I want to go, then, by completing your liberal studies degree at an institution like Fresno State, you don't have to worry about the CSET anymore. And so those are things like we want you to understand as you guys either start this process or are currently progressing through it, that, yes, it can be a lot initially, but when you really think about it, a lot of these things will naturally take care of itself. The government requirement that'll get taken care of as you finish your general education. So there's a lot of pieces in place already that will help you naturally knock off a lot of these requirements, and I think that's important for you guys to understand.
Yeah. What are all of the California credential types?
Yeah, there's 4 types of teaching credentials in the state of California, which is great because then you can really think about what's the best fit for you, like what age groups, younger students to older students that you'd like to work with, and also what subjects you just feel really energized behind, because that you're so excited about it, that will transfer into the students being really interested in that material as well. And so the 4 types, we have 3 that have been around for the longest time, starting with elementary education. So being able to teach from kindergarten through 6th grade is what's called the multiple subject credential, teaching credential. And then we have the single subject teaching credential, which is for middle school areas, particularly in math and science are the common ones. And then also high school, so being able to teach a specific content area of math, science, English, arts, Spanish, dance, things like that. And then, of course, we have also the 3rd long-standing credential in the state is the education specialist credential, and this one is so that you would be qualified to teach from kindergarten through 12th grade with students with disabilities. The 4th one, which is brand new, and there's still only a few programs or accredited programs, universities in the state that have earned this credential or have met the requirements to offer it, is the Pre-K Early Childhood Education Instruction Specialist credential. Most often we just call it the PK3 credential, but I do really appreciate that it mentions specialist in there for early childhood education, because I think a lot of people who are wanting to work with the younger age groups might be wondering, well, how do I make, what's the difference between the PK3 and a multiple subject credential? And the specialist component of the PK3 really would focus in on the preschool through 3rd grade level and really play-based, developmentally appropriate practices. And also, it would mean that if you really have no desire to teach ever 4 through 6, it would kind of limit that in that way. However, we're going to see abilities to add multiple subject on the PK3, and PK3 is already addable to the multiple subject because you definitely benefit if you want to teach in any of the transitional kindergarten classrooms, so like 4-year-old to young 5-year-olds in the state. The PK3 credential is really beneficial for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for going over the different credential types. I think it's important, for our teaching fellows to know what's out there and to utilize and fall back on their experience that they're getting with teaching fellows in the classroom to maybe help identify, hey, I'm really passionate working with this specific group of students, or maybe on the flip side, you've had an opportunity to work with this group and you're like,
not for me.
Maybe I'm going to change routes and go single subject. And this is beneficial, I think, in a lot of ways, too, from an academic standpoint, because then it can help you figure out what degree pathway is going to suit you the best and kind of make you have a more efficient pathway to finishing your degree. One thing that I forgot to touch on in the last part, that the last question that Dr. H had touched on, was a lot of teaching fellows that I've met with recently have already kind of completed their bachelor's degree, and they're like, well, I want to be a teacher now because of the really positive experiences they've gained with teaching fellows. And so I just wanted to highlight again what she'd said, that there are definitely pathways, even if you are close to completing your current degree or you've already completed it but now realize you want to get into teaching, that there are still pathways for you. And so I think that I wanted to make sure I highlighted that so that our teaching fellows know that just because you might have a degree in interior design doesn't necessarily mean that you can't not be a teacher, right? And so that's why I'm here, right, to help you figure out ways to do that. And I'm fortunate that I have a network that includes Dr. H that we can connect you with to help you through that process.
Yeah. What are the fastest and most affordable credential routes? I'm sure our teaching fellows would love to know that.
Yeah, that's a great question. The first one that comes to mind is the Integrated Teacher Education Program pathway, often referred to as ITEP. The unique feature of ITEP is that it basically is built into your bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. So it is an accelerated program, so you would have to in some ways be, feeling like this would be for you, right? Fit is always important, but what we typically would see is transfer students in from community college, so completing your first 2 years in community college, coming into the 4-year institution like Fresno State for your junior year, and then that summer before your senior year you actually start moving to the credential coursework. Mm-hmm. And there's even coursework before you get into that last year that's really focused on the teaching components in addition to the content areas. And so clearly that's a time saver and a financial saver to be able to complete your bachelor's degree and your credential all within, really we see them mostly doing it in 4 years.
Wow.
A 4-year timeline. And then once you move into what we call once you have your bachelor's degree and post-bac is what's called, post-baccalaureate, so you have your degree now and you want to pursue a credential, the next best program model, I would say, maybe I'm biased, I don't know, but the research supports it quite well, would be the teacher residency pathway. And so this pathway requires basically that you actually complete the program within usually a 12-month period, so it's not lengthy. And the real added benefit is that you are, it comes with a financial stipend. Yeah. In our region, most of the residents are receiving $35,000 for about a 10-month program. And then the other really value added of the residency model is that you are placed with a experienced mentor teacher for the full residency year experience. So you get to see how the school year starts as well as how the school year ends. And even though the university timeline is a little bit shorter than that. And the other really big piece of this is that there's a lot of professional learning opportunities that are embedded into the residency model that either you do alongside with your mentor teacher or you do on your own, that when that really several of the programs actually can commit to hiring you at the start. Like, if you complete this program successfully, you will have a job, or we're going to treat it as preferential hire. Some of the smaller districts have to consider preferential hire, and so forth. So residency model is great. And then what we're moving towards right now, as state legislation comes on board and allows us to, is to build out the apprenticeship model.
Yeah. And I think, touching on those models, it's great to know that there are financial supports there. Some of the other financial supports, there are a lot of different state and federal grants that you guys have the opportunity to apply for. There's the Golden State Teach Grant, which is a state of California grant that can provide significant financial supports that you can also stack on top of a residency program, for example. And then there's a federal Teach Grant as well. And then something I believe, Dr. H and I were talking before we jumped on, but the state just passed a new student teaching stipend that is, I think it's $10,000.
It's $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, that's something that you could stack on top of all the other financial supports. Because I know in talking to a lot of our teaching fellows, a big concern is like, how am I going to support myself? Because typically in a traditional program with student teaching, you're not getting paid. And so we understand that can be quite difficult. And we don't want our teaching fellows to have to choose. And so I think it's important for you guys to understand, like, hey, there are actually a lot of options that are out there for you to help get you through these programs.
What are some common myths and misconceptions regarding teaching?
Yeah, one of the biggest myths in the profession has to do with this perception that teachers are very unhappy, being underpaid and under a lot of pressure to teach in a particular way and things like that. And when I think about this, a lot of this to me comes from very vocal voices within social media spaces that are actually the smaller group, the minority group of that. They just have a big platform and can speak to this. And I'm sure they have some, valid concerns, because I know, having been a teacher, there are some really hard days. And I think that's okay to recognize, and it's also important to build the strategies and skills, the community, and also wellness practices for you as a professional. So yeah, teaching can be really demanding. But the research is quite compelling to counter this myth, where when in the most recent data set where they surveyed something like 5,000 teachers, it was fascinating to see that they were rated the profession as being the professionals that were the happiest with their career choices, and even more so than like physicians and maybe what we would think would be like, surely they're happier in their careers and professions. And so truthfully, we actually have quite a few, a large majority of teachers that are really happy in their profession due to a lot of the things we've already talked about with financial stability, flexibility in scheduling at times,
it's just so rewarding.
Yeah, and just to kind of build on that, I know we've already touched on it, but there are a lot of like financial benefits and long-term stability with this profession. The steps that a lot of school districts built in, the salary increases. So I think that's why you do happen to see a lot of teachers stay in the profession for as long as they do. And there are also other ways to like earn. I know at past conferences that we posted, we've had like coaches there, so they're getting additional stipends. We have people that are heads of certain clubs at schools, and then in addition, like something that I know that I'm jealous of is that like they get a lot of built-in time off as part of their schedule, right? Summers off, winter break, spring break, so there's a lot of options or opportunities for them to pursue like other passions that they might have. And I think that's really awesome because it just allows them freedom to just continue to do things that they love.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was teasing with Dr. H and Terence earlier that you all can Google this later, but there's a statement out there that teachers are the secret millionaires. And there's so many reasons for that. Like we're saying, financial stability, there's tenure, retirement plans, but go ahead and Google it, do your own research, but don't sleep on teaching. There's so many benefits to it. What advice do you have for them? Maybe a teaching fellow out there is watching and listening, and they're like, hey, I maybe am interested, or maybe I got bit by the bug and I don't really know what to do. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, the first piece is to know you're already doing, as a teaching fellow, a great deal of what is required of a teacher, and that you belong in this profession. You are coming into a credential program with such a wealth of experience, understanding social emotional connections, building those relationships with students as foundational to then the learning component, the lesson planning practices that you get some professional learning experience and coaching guidance on. So those are all key components. So you've already been doing a lot of the job. And so if you're finding those moments of where you're engaging with students and seeing them grow and really feel excited to see you, then maybe it's like pulling you in, so you really do belong. And I would say too, with the belonging component, is that your cultural, racial, ethnic, gender, linguistic backgrounds are professional assets, and that being able to have that range of knowledge, background, and experience will really enhance your connection to feel that the students will look to you and be like, I see myself in my teacher. I feel comfortable and connected, and that's really going to enhance learning too. So it's like you belong, and you belong with your students from your rich cultural and linguistic backgrounds.
I couldn't have said that any better than Dr. H. This might sound redundant. I know we've touched on this a few times throughout the day, but I think it's just important to know that you're not alone. We have supports here within the organization. There's supports at a lot of different institutions of higher education, but there are people that want to help you, and I think it's important to know that, and that we're here for you, and we want you to be successful, because I think the impact that you guys are currently already having in the classroom, I think that can carry on, to multiple generations in the future, and so anything that we can do to help you, I want you to know that we're here.
And if you are a teaching fellow out there and you're like, what? I didn't know there was a scholarship program at Fresno State with teaching fellows, or I didn't know of a first-gen scholarship, reach out to Terrence. We'll get you all the information you need. One last piece of advice, hearing so much wealth of knowledge from Dr. H and from Terrence, is teaching fellows, I want to remind you that you do have a community already behind you, supporting you. You have people like your liaisons who are ready to support you along your journey. And if you are thinking like, hey, I'm interested in becoming a future teacher, that's seriously gold to their ears. We want to hear those stories, and we want to help you. So there are already systems in place with scholarship programs. We already have certain professional development and workshops and resources that we want to connect you with. We want to hear your story. So again, I highly encourage you, if you don't have that personal or deeper relationship with your liaison, do reach out to them, because not only do they know you, they know the other teachers at your site, they know the admin at the district, and we want to connect you. And then want to remind you lastly that as a teaching fellow, you have so much value. You have so much value as a person in the classroom, to your students, at your district, to family members, to the community. And also, if you are again thinking, I want to join a credential program one day, mentioning that you are a teaching fellow or were a former teaching fellow and you do come with that experience, it goes beyond what you could imagine. It has so much weight, and so we just want to encourage you that, again, as a teaching fellow, you have so much value. We value you. The experience and the work that you do is so appreciated. So give yourself a pat on the back, because you're already one step there. Thank you so much, teaching fellows and the community, for joining us today for this episode of CTFF Talks. Thank you so much, Dr. H, for being a part of this really important conversation. It's really rich, so we appreciate your insight and your knowledge, your expertise, and the time that you took to be with us. And thank you, Terrence, for really caring about our teaching fellows and for holding so much information. And really, I'm just, again, encouraging everybody to get to know Terrence. If you are thinking that teaching could be for you, like, you've got to get to know Terrence. So then, thank you for watching, and be sure that you follow us. We will put our name right above, and catch us next time. Thank you. Bye.